Good morning, Mr. J.
You'll remember it. Good morning, Brian.
Good morning, Mr. J.
Good morning, Brian.
Take 3.
What, how?
Good morning, Mr. J.
What do you want me to say?
Same thing. Just.
Oh, okay.
Good morning, Mr. J.
Good morning, friend.
It's where you put a web in a capsule, right?
It's when you capture a spider. Today is Friday. It's a great day. It's the end of the week, and we are going to talk about CSS encapsulation today and the way that that can be done via web components. There's a few nuances about the subject, so we're going to take it from the very beginning and talk about the tiniest amount of encapsulation you can gain from a custom element, and then transition into an actual web component with Shadow DOM to discuss what kind of encapsulation you can gain in that case. Does that sound good, Brian? Does that sound like a decent intro?
Sounds great.
Not too long.
Killed it.
Not too short.
Knocked it out of the park.
I wrote an article on dev.to that I should have used just plain vanilla or even just plain custom elements and web components. But I used lit element. So we're going to spend this morning recreating a little bit of that in plain custom elements and Shadow DOM web components and show you step by step what you can do with CSS.
Yeah.
There we go. Okay. That's too much. There we go. We're going to start a whole new window here. Throw it in there.
What Mr. J is doing is starting with a template. He's scaffolding a new component based on an example from MDN. MDN.
And I'm going to throw it all in the HTML, so it's all easy.
You know, I've been talking to people about web components, and it's really interesting to me to see how many people don't know what a web component is. And when I speak about it, they will either ask what it is or they will make an assumption that it's a generic term, oftentimes referring to a React component.
Yeah, that's one of the things we're going to have to clarify really carefully. And let's practice that for a second. So, Brian, what is the difference between a component and the componentized web, this movement of designing and developing parts of web pages that get reused versus an actual web component? See if you can do it in like 3 sentences or less.
Web component is a specific term that refers to the W3C specification for custom elements. Components generally on the web are, like you said, reusable pieces of markup and functionality. How'd I do?
I like it. I wasn't quite listening, but I still like it.
Okay. You want to talk about what you're doing here? Looks like you deleted a lot of the body that was in the template you're using.
Trying to make the smallest bare bones custom element.
Okay.
That we can make. So in a little bit, we'll talk about... That was odd. Why is it? We'll talk about that in a little bit. Oh, that's why. Stupid nunchucks. We don't need to extend.
What is nunchucks?
It's a templating language in Node.
Okay.
Okay, so we've got a simple custom element that extends HTML element. When we put it on the page, it'll look like this. Remember, you always have to have a dash in the middle of a custom element. That helps the browser know what's a regular element versus a custom element.
Let's put that on the page real quick.
Yeah.
So that first parameter of the definition is what gives the browser the ability to process the markup that Mr. J is writing right now. So that is the custom element definition. CSS-encapsulate refers to the class CSS encapsulate.
And I'm going to do something you normally don't do, but it is done. I'm going to put the styles inside the body right next to it. Can kind of have everything right next to each other. Usually you see styles up here or in a separate style sheet or something like that. And we'll end up changing where this is. But for now, I want to do a couple things. Let's do this.
So we've got a custom element, and inside the custom element, we've got a paragraph tag with the words "Hello World." The paragraph tag is blue.
Think it's gonna work?
Sure, I don't know why it wouldn't.
Check it out. We don't know at this point if it's actually working as far as the custom element, because remember, HTML is so forgiving. You can throw almost anything on the page and it will render. And because there's a P in here, it's going to render.
Oh, sure.
We don't see any errors from the class.
You're saying because the P is not actually in our custom element. It's inside the markup on the page for the custom element, but it's not inside the class that we defined for the custom element.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So what is in our class?
Nothing, really.
We've got a constructor, and so we always call that first, and that'll call the constructor in HTML element. What does the constructor in HTML element do?
Ooh, I have no idea.
Neither do I. That would be an interesting question for us to write down and address later. And then it says create a shadow root, and you commented that out. And now you're saying on connected, I was connected.
Yeah, I just want to see. Was it connected? It was not connected. So I have done something incorrect here. On connected it's connected callback, isn't it? On connected is a proprietary function, I believe. Yeah, see?
Connected callback, okay.
Yeah. So that's
part of the custom element API then?
Yeah, part of that's one of the 3 or 4 life cycles of a default custom element.
Can we see, are those listed on the MDN page? Just really quick for our studio audience.
I think, yeah, let's see if it's here. There they are. Wait, no. Connected callback, attribute changed callback. Where's the list of them? There they are.
Lifecycle callbacks. You can define several different callbacks inside a custom elements class definition, which fire at different points in the element's lifecycle. So connected callback, where is that fire in the lifecycle?
When it's connected to the DOM. So let's mimic that. Let's copy this whole thing and put another one in there.
Okay.
I'm going to edit the body, throw another one in, and as soon as I come out, we should see another one connected.
So the browser will see the new text, and it will try to render it, and when it renders it, it'll create a DOM tree or update the DOM tree, and then once this new element is in the DOM tree, is that when it calls?
I think so.
Unconnected?
Something like that.
Oh, look at that.
And
it happened twice.
It happened twice because I edited the whole body, which technically I was putting 2 on the page.
Oh. And so we lost a reference to the one that was there.
Very possibly, yeah. And maybe if I would have had it disconnected, it actually would have disconnected the first one, but I'm not sure. Disconnected callback.
Very cool.
Connected, disconnected, adopted, which means it was already connected onto the page, but then it was adopted into another one, like you cloned it or something like that.
Huh.
And then attribute change. So if you change any attribute on that custom element, this lifecycle event will fire. Yeah.
Just notice which attributes to notice change for is specified in a static get observed attributes.
Right. So this will fire, but if you haven't defined any attributes that you want to listen to, you're not going to be able to handle those attributes changed. You'll know that something changed, but unless you define this, you won't know what to do with it.
Very interesting. Okay. So we've got a connected
success.
callback.
We've got success, yeah.
The constructor creates the object. The connected callback lets you know when your object is actually attached into the DOM. Why is that important?
It's important for a few reasons. Let's think way ahead. Let's say that you started with this simple HTML page, but then 3 months later, your product owner says, we need to make this into a PWA so that
Progressive web app?
the page never refreshes, and you're doing these cool page transitions between pages, and you've got suddenly more and more custom elements coming in and more custom elements on the last page that are no longer needed. I'm taking like the extreme. And so you need to be able to, as they come on the page, do specific things, and as they leave the page, get rid of their event listeners, get rid of their life cycles, because you don't want to have to worry about them anymore, and they might conflict, if you're not careful, with newer ones.
So that'd be like disconnected callback, right?
Yeah. If you had a disconnected callback, you would say, remove my event listeners, because the browser window should no longer care about those because I'm gone.
Okay.
What we wanted to do next real quick was put something in our custom element. Do it in the connected callback, although I think you can do it in the constructor.
Go for it. We are at the port today.
So suddenly there was sound. I'm going to use template literals because it's so much cleaner. And I'm going to put a div inside here and another paragraph tag. Hello from inside custom element.
Excuse me while I turn off my
then
alarm.
I'm going to say this, which means the custom element, dot append child. Can I do this? We're going to find out.
I mean, you can.
No, I cannot. Append child on node. Yeah, because this is a template literal.
Is that why?
Yeah.
I think on node, I think it's saying that you can't do it on this.
Oh, right. This is not a...
parameter 1 is not a node, so maybe you can. Yeah. No, you need to go document.create element.
I just did this.
The template needs to be...
Let's do something really simple.
So that appended the text.
Right. Just for now, let's just show what that looks like. So we're gonna... Sorry, my mic is in the way and I haven't learned how to type yet. So we were able to throw in this funky character inside the custom element.
Right.
With the custom element.
Let's can you go back?
Yeah.
Let's do a document.create element and create a P paragraph. Now p.inner text equals template.
Or text.
Sure.
Why isn't it? Oh, wait. Sorry. Template literal?
Just template. Hello from inside custom element.
Right.
And now append child P.
Right.
Because append child takes a node.
There we go.
Hey, did you notice its color changed?
I did notice that.
Do you know why?
Because it's a paragraph now.
Because it's a paragraph now, and we have inside... Oh, that's why. It has nothing to do with our custom element. Never mind.
Yeah. So this is the next step I want to show. Even without Shadow DOM, there is a minute amount of CSS encapsulation that we gain from just the ability to define custom elements. And that is, we can say, with greater specificity, we can say a paragraph inside this type would be color green. And that's somewhat important because that can help to a certain degree, especially in a well-defined style system or design system. This can give you just enough to get a careful name spacing of styles surrounding your custom elements. That can be a little bit different than the default.
I'd like to make the distinction, though, that is not encapsulation. That is CSS as usual.
Yeah.
So there's a global style tag at the top, and that declaration will apply to every single thing.
Yeah, good point. There we go. So blue, the specificity gets a little bit more, quite a bit more, and we say green if it's inside CSS encapsulate. That's all we get, though. A tiny bit of greater specificity, a little bit more in our tool belt to be able to apply names, somewhat like a tiny bit of name spacing.
I think we just get the semantic description. If you wanted to express the idea of CSS encapsulate in your markup, you definitely get that. Other than that, I mean, we've just named a custom element. But there's no encapsulation at this point. We get to write. Actually, what we have done is we've encapsulated some markup inside CSS encapsulate by writing the lines on 41 where we made a new paragraph tag and then we appended it to our element. So anytime you put CSS encapsulate on the page, you're going to get that hello world. How many CSS encapsulates did we put on the page? One. And so it should print that twice then, right? Because on 25 we're putting one paragraph tag in, and then on 44 we were putting another paragraph tag in. So there should be two paragraph tags.
And we did see that.
Yes.
However,
I just wanted to catch our studio audience up on that.
We have a studio audience? I don't hear them laughing.
Oh, we should get a laugh track.
Or a live studio audience. That'd be even better.
One thing at a time.
Yeah.
You can invite your kids up.
So Brian, Where's
the dog?
I just made a massive change. Yeah, we should bring Rockstar.
The dog was our live studio audience.
That's true.
Sorry.
I just made a huge change. Do you want to describe what I did?
Let's see what you did. You created a shadow root. So this attached shadow, mode open. Let's go to the MDN docs and see what mode open means.
Okay. Shadow root.
Attached shadow.
The default is open, so we didn't even really need that, I don't think.
Let's get rid of it then.
I like it.
Do we want to know what it does though?
Sure, but since it defaults, let's take it out.
So let's search for attached shadow. There you go. Element.attached shadow. That method creates a shadow DOM tree to the specified element and returns a reference to its shadow root.
What the heck is a shadow DOM tree, Brian?
Is like a tree structure inside a node on the DOM. So it has its own tree structure internally that is not represented on the same layer or dimension as the document object model that the browser's using typically.
I was actually thinking that the dimension, like the separate dimension, is potentially a good one, especially if you've seen Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
Oh, I have to go see that.
Oh, dude.
It was good?
I've seen it 3 times now.
3?
Mm-hmm. A really quick explanation of open versus closed. If you were to try to access the DOM elements API and say element.shadowroot with it open, you would get access to the shadow root. You'd be able to query it, be able to do things, etc. If you closed it, even just trying to access it with element.shadowroot, you would get null.
Can we select something? So default is open. If we go to our document, can we select the shadow root from the console?
Yeah.
Let's illustrate what we just read.
So this is before I added the shadow root. Mm-hmm. There's a couple things that are going to happen here that aren't going to make sense right away. When I refresh, we're only going to see one of these, even though there's technically still 2 in our markups. See that?
And why is that?
Oh, shoot. One argument required. Oh, closed. We did have to say closed.
No, you just need to give it an object.
Oh, right. No.
Really?
Yeah. But see what I mean? 2 things happen. One is only one of our paragraphs is showing now. One of our custom element paragraphs. This is just a loose paragraph on top of it.
Okay. What happened to... So what happened to line 25?
It is no longer relevant to the custom element because the custom element has a shadow root, and the shadow root is all that consumes the custom element's mind now.
So creative.
I don't know how to...
That should be our show topic for next week. Into the mind of a custom element.
But that's hard to explain, Brian. Like, why isn't this showing up?
I'm trying to think of how to explain it, and I don't understand all of the inner workings and life cycles of rendering this from the browser's point of view, but I think what's happening is the CSS encapsulate element, when it gets attached to the DOM in the constructor, we've created a shadow root. And by creating the shadow root, if you remember that API said it creates the shadow root and attach shadow on line 37 creates a shadow root for our custom element. And I think in creating that, the custom element only renders what's in the shadow root. And therefore it ignores everything that was given to it as a child. Mr. J is jumping ahead.
I don't know if this is going to work. Yeah, so I am jumping to the next step. Let's not do this at the moment, though. Let's first.
I'm so excited.
I feel like I went ahead because we need to talk about why the other thing that happened. So the first thing that happened is we're not seeing this.
Right.
The second thing that happened is this paragraph is no longer green.
Okay, let's go back to the browser and see that. You're right, it's black.
It's black. This one's blue.
So we have styles at the page level, which are the global styles, traditional style sheets. And this is what breaks away from a normal understanding of cascading style sheets with custom elements. Now, your content inside your custom element, inside CSS Encapsulate, no longer inherits the styles that you defined on the page.
This is getting ugly. I'm going to clean it up just a little bit because I apologize. It just feels yucky. The whole thing feels yucky. Having to do this, create this, append this.
This is totally what Josh's production code looks like.
Maybe. Well, a year ago with custom elements, maybe.
So we were talking about, we've created a shadow root. We've appended the paragraph tag to the shadow root, not to the element itself. I'm curious because I haven't done too much exploratory coding like this with these. What if you do the same thing as on line 45, but instead of this dot shadow root, you attach it just to this? No. Do both.
Oh.
I want to see what happens.
Oh, I see where you're going.
Will we see both? Is that the way to get something in the light DOM from within a custom element? Let's see.
I think so, yeah.
Or will it put it in the shadow DOM? It does nothing now. Very interesting.
Let's look at it. Did it actually end up in there? So here's our shadow root. But we had already put in hello world here. So let's take that out.
So that's there but not rendered by the browser.
Right. Let's take that one out.
Given a shadow root. Wait. What just happened? That's not what I expected. Which one did you delete?
I deleted the one in our HTML, our light DOM.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Let's
go back.
Go back to the browser.
Yeah. Why don't we see hello from inside the custom element? Am I missing something?
Let's do this. For now, let's do just this dot append child.
Get rid of the create shadow root. There you go.
We don't even want to attach the shadow.
Attach shadow is what I mean. Right.
So as soon as you attach a shadow, custom element knows, hey, I'm going to act quite a bit different now because I'm an actual web component with shadow DOM.
Right.
I don't know if we want to say that. Yeah. We're no longer just a custom element.
No, you are. Custom elements.
We're no longer just a custom element.
Okay.
I don't know.
I'm thinking through that.
Yeah. Me too.
Sorry for the awkwardness.
I am too. We're disagreeing with ourselves and each other.
At the same time.
Yeah, so this changes things quite a bit when we do this.
All right, let's throw it back.
We're seeing in multiple ways. This ain't going to work. We can put template things. We can put elements inside of our shadow root now, which will get rendered.
Yep. Let's go back to the styling piece. Can we see it in the browser?
Yeah. I'm going to remove this.
Okay.
At the moment, we don't have anything inside here. The only thing that's getting into our custom element is our p tag with this text at the moment. And it should be, you would think, either blue or green or something, but it ain't. It's just black.
Right. So styles on the page do not apply to our custom elements shadow root. And you might be thinking, what? That broke CSS.
It did break cascading. It did change the way that the styles cascade. It's a different It's a different paradigm.
I don't think it changed the way the styles cascade.
Well,
I think
true.
it changed the way the markup is rendered and attached to the document object model.
This is that different dimension. Like, you get down to this point in the tree.
We've gone into the shadows.
CSS is applying in a cascading fashion all the way down, but our shadow root is like in a different dimension and it doesn't receive those cascades.
That's right.
It's protected. It's encapsulated from that cascade.
Welcome to the dark side. Okay, now that we've done that, what are the benefits of that? Why would we do that?
Yeah, we didn't start with the problem, did we?
Way to break the fourth wall.
Let's back up for a second. Okay, let's back up. Let's back up to 1996, and Captain Marvel is saving the world. And we how did we reuse things back in 2001, 2002, 2003? It was all jQuery, right? We would reuse functionality with jQuery. We'd establish it. But if we truly wanted to build something and share it with 5 other sites or 5 other pages or 5 other environments, that's not the right word. We could share the functionality, but we couldn't package that up, give it to somebody else and say, use this.
You mean like...
You try, Brian.
Are you trying to say I couldn't just hand you my component?
Yes.
And then have it work?
I've got this UI
I had to
component.
hand you jQuery and a bunch of classes.
Yes. So put this jQuery as a script on the page. Put this style somewhere in your overall styles or somewhere on the page at least before you put your DOM element on there.
And you couldn't use, like, on line 21, I'm pointing, but our audience can't see that on the screen. You couldn't use a custom element like CSS Encapsulate to print hello from inside the custom element. You would have to ship CSS Encapsulate with hello from inside of it.
Yeah.
And so if you have a more complex component, then, all of the internal concerns of your component are open to the public namespace, or I don't know what you'd call it in the DOM. They're open to the global styling. They're open for everybody to see and manipulate, for you to manipulate and make mistakes with, for naming collisions, for all of that. So there's an integration cost to that.
Yeah. You put it on one page, it looks one way. You put it on another page, it might not. And it's hard to make a system for that to work as you expect it to because of those namespace conflicts, etc.
And I think if you made something and I was going to implement it, I had to understand everything about it. To implement it.
Yeah. Instead of just maybe you've got one option to change this attribute on this custom element. That's all you have to understand.
Yeah.
It's going to work like this. Or even less. You just put it on the page and it's going to work.
And in those days, when you put something like that on the page, oftentimes you would have a collision with your existing styles. And so either the naming or specificity, or somebody did bang important on something and then it messed up the component you were trying to use, the general component, not web component. That's some of the challenges. Now with Shadowroot, anything that we put in here, the context of my page is not going to ruin it.
I'm going to try something here. This isn't going to be super clean. I don't like how we're just throwing things together like this, but
that's all right. We got 5 minutes.
I'm going to make a style. And I'm going to style element.
Nice.
Something like
so
that.
Mr. J is creating a style tag in JavaScript using the JavaScript API, or the document API in JavaScript.
Does this work?
Inner text, I think. I don't know if this is going to work. I've never done this.
I don't either.
Welcome to Mr. J and Friends, where we do exploratory programming live.
Let's try it. No. Oh,
It's
yeah.
there.
I put it in the wrong order, though, so it didn't apply.
Why is there a bunch of BRs in it?
Good question. Style. Inner text. That's not going to work.
That's not what I expected to happen at all.
Let's do inner HTML.
That's actually very interesting.
That should work. Wait, no. Now we got to take this out.
So, yeah, I think that's your problem.
Green. Look at that. It's green. And
what was happening?
if we keep this up here, even if we put, hey, I really want this to be blue.
Ooh, he's doing the...
Something.
What do they call that? Cardinal sin? Primal sin?
The cardinal.
Cardinal sin.
What does that mean? Yeah, so it really should be blue. All paragraphs should be blue. But it ain't, because our shadow root has its own styles saying it's green.
Right. So shadow root, you're in that other dimension. You're behind the door. You're living in the shadow. Your shadow in real life looks like you, but if you put lipstick on, your shadow doesn't have it. I don't know. That's the best I got. I'm winging it on the analogy for the shadow. I'm going to think about that and come up with something better for you guys next week.
You may be asking, well, then what if I wanted to style something in there? We don't have time to cover that today, but I did write an article on dev.to called Web Component Style Encapsulation in 5 minutes, which takes you one step further than this.
Linked in the show notes.
Talks about CSS custom properties or CSS variables. And you should take a look at that because it'll take you one step further, and it's got some examples. They're written in lit element and lit HTML instead of just plain old JavaScript custom elements.
If you don't know what that is, it is a library to give you a nice API to build custom elements on top of the spec. Today what we've been doing is just using the spec directly.
They have a great guide for both lit element and lit HTML. I highly recommend you go consume those at your leisure. Brian, it's 8:28. We got to wrap up. Do you have any final words about CSS encapsulation? Is this exciting to you?
This is...
How excited are you?
This is not that exciting to me. Way to sell it, right? I think that what will come next week is going to be really exciting.
What's coming next week?
So stay tuned.
What's coming next week?
Stay tuned.
All right.
No, I think for me, the exciting part about Shadow DOM is the slot API that it gives you.
Yeah, we didn't get to that.
Yeah. So Shadow DOM gives you a couple things, and CSS encapsulation is one of them. We should talk about slot next time, and I think it's also good to show people the flexibility with the shadow. We have to have at least one edit, right?
We got a lot more than one edit.
3, 2, 1, go. And I think it's also good to show people the flexibility of the shadow root and styling, and show how you can style things in various ways and what the options are.
Awesome.
Because the very first time I got into this, I was like, what is going on? It was kind of confusing. It's a new paradigm. It's a new way of thinking about things. With that, I'm going to continue to try my best to stop saying I'm
going to say in this final 10 seconds that we are creating a web component course. It's going to be at webcomponentcourse.com, which if you go there now is completely empty. We are starting to gain momentum on our outline of the course and some of the key aspects, what we're going to be building inside of it, what we're going to be teaching. And I got to say, I'm extremely excited about it. So please stay tuned. Please subscribe. You will not regret it.
Wonderful.
Thanks, Brian.
Thanks for tuning in with us. Leave your questions and comments down below. Let us know if this made sense. Let us know if you think this is like confusing, or why I just use React, man.
Oh, that's
Why
a
would
good
we do
question.
this?
Or Vue?
Josh is a Vue fanboy.
Somewhat.
I'm not really a fan of any of those front end frameworks at this point. Yeah.
Brian,
Cheers. Until next time.
have a good one.
I think I forgot the second part of doing my hair.
What's the second part?
Like flatten the top
Spike the
with
front.
with a comb. Yeah.
Spike the front, flat the back.
Yeah.
Party.
This is great.
Party in the front, business in the back.
Yes. Had to make sure that was the right positions for.
If you reverse it, it's a mullet. Business in the front, party in the back.
Look at it, it's horrible. Oh.
It looks fine, man.
All right. You're such a nice guy.
Where'd you go?
Last night?
Your friend that's not really a barber?
Dude. Okay, so true story. My barber is gone.
He died?